Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's Shocker Family Table Talk. This July episode is all about money and access, and I think probably we get the most questions, particularly at this time of the summer, about these two items. So we have brought some great folks together for you tonight. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm sure we have some repeat customers here tonight, so welcome back if you have joined us before. Some of the faces on the screen may be familiar. If you have attended orientation, you've seen and heard from me, you've seen and heard from Gina, likely Amanda as well, and definitely Ryan as well. So we're going to just do a high-level overview, kind of review tonight about proxy access for educational records, then dive into our financial aid information. And then what most people join us for every summer is a walkthrough line by line of the bill that all of you wonderful folks are probably either contributing to or paying. So we're glad to have our group with us here tonight. So we're going to do some quick introductions. We'll go Gina and then Amanda and then Ryan. And we're going to jump right in because I know we'll have a lot of questions tonight. As always, if you have a question, please put it in the chat and we will try to answer as many of those live as we go through this content for you tonight. So introductions, go for it, Gina.
Hi there, my name is Gina Crabtree and I serve as Associate Vice Provost for Enrollment Services and University Registrar here at WSU. As Kim said, if you've come to orientation, you've heard a little bit about my topics tonight, but we're going to just do a basic overview, as she said. And so looking forward to hearing what questions you have.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Duffy, and I'm one of the advisors in financial aid here in the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. And we're just going to kind of give an overview of what options to pay, cover the gap, and how we can help assist you right now.
Good evening, I'm Ryan Lofink. I am the Director of Accounts Receivable here. We are the folks that are going to do the billing and take your money. So
I think that's great.
I thought you were going to say and take your money. And
yeah. It's always financial. We're the ones that give you money, and then they're the ones that take your money. Mm-hmm. So that's the running joke, right? On the same floor of driving.
It is.
Yeah,
yep.
Right.
Two different ends.
Go right to give, right? Yeah. All right, we're going to start off with Gina and talk a little bit about FERPA and proxy access. So Gina, go.
Okay, great. Okay, so really, as we mentioned, we don't want to repeat what we've said at orientation, but we know that there are some folks perhaps that were not at orientation. So I just really wanted to review for you quickly the highlights of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act and what that means for you as parents, and more importantly, then how we can take some action and conversations you can have with your students to look at ways you could potentially have access to some information from your students' records. So I don't know, Erin, do I need to share, or are you going to put on the website there? There we go. Thank you. So just want to highlight for you at wichita.edu/FERPA, you will find this information. And I just encourage folks to take a look at it. The basics of FERPA that are important for parents to know is that I always say we, because I have a student who's in college and another one who's, graduated. But we as parents, even if we're paying the bill, we don't have a right to have access to our students' education records, to know what their grades are. We don't have that right. So if you read over the information related to FERPA, you'll essentially know that students are the ones that have the rights to their education records and to say within certain limits who gets to have access. So for parents, just trying to keep a good base of knowledge about what you can and can't get from the university, and know that we want to help you, but we of course have an obligation under the law and want to protect your students' record and their rights and their privacy. So we'll do our best to try and do both of those things, to serve families with questions, as well as to take care of that legal obligation. So I just encourage folks to read over the information. It's not super exciting. We know it's, legal stuff, but there is some helpful information there. There are some pieces of information that we can provide to any third party without the student's consent, and that's called directory information. Those are the basics, like, is a student enrolled or not? Are they full-time? Are they part-time? So sometimes there are questions like that we can answer. But oftentimes for parents, we like to know how students are doing. So I want to say, first of all, that there's no information that I can show you, or no way that we can provide you information about how a student is doing in a current class. There's no information about what they got on their last test, or we don't have any ability to provide student or parent access to our learning management system, nor are faculty allowed to provide information about, current content or progress in a class to parents. But what we can do is as parents, work with our student and see if we can reach an agreement about the student setting a parent up as a proxy. So at wichita.edu/proxy, then you'll see this screen. And again, not going to read through this, just really encourage you to take a look at it, but I'm going to highlight a couple of pieces here for you, see if I can make it a little bit bigger. So it provides in these links here, a document for the students or a website for the students on how to set up a proxy, and then how parents will get access to records once they are established as a proxy. And all a proxy is someone that the student has given the authority to review certain information from their student record. This lower part of the web page then, in these kind of accordion files, provide information about these are the various areas that a student can grant authorization and what they're granting authorization to see if they do. So if a student grants authorization for their proxy to view their profile, then the proxy will be able to view all of this information. So there's stuff that's organized along kind of general and more academic. Then there's some proxy items for financial aid. And there's one item regarding a student account. And so there's no web information to view related to the student account, and Ryan will talk with you about that and tell you more about that himself. But we do have this one option, and there's a similar option in each of the areas, which says I give permission for WSU to discuss my billing and my payment and my tax with my proxy, or to discuss the financial aid items that I've selected up here. So we incorporate into the proxy system both the ability to view certain records when the proxy sets up their own login, but also the ability to view in that area where the proxy goes. The student will tell the proxy what a passphrase is, their passphrase is, separate from your password, passphrase. And then if you had questions about what you were seeing, or maybe something that you can't see or whatever, then a call to the registrar's office, for instance, we would ask if you were a proxy and if you know the passphrase. And if that's the case, you do know the passphrase, then that's how we authenticate you and know that we can speak more freely with you about the things that the student has allowed you access. So we can talk with you about what you can see. So that's, again, the basics of proxy information. I like to always, again, remind parents not to call faculty and ask them how their student's doing. Because there's a lot of issues there, of course. But if you're ever concerned about problems that your student is having, really encourage them to talk with faculty. If they're struggling, have them seek out the services of the Office of Student Success. So want to basically make sure that that we're having the student have the conversation with the faculty member. But if the student is having concerns about that or how they do that, there are other services within, again, student success and other areas that can encourage them and sometimes help make those contacts as well. So just encourage you to check out our website to look into the students' rights and responsibilities under FERPA, as well as the proxy situation, and have a conversation with your student now about what is going to work for your family. Are you going to be a proxy? Are they going to set you up? What are they going to mark as viewable for you? And just be aware that a student can change the access of their proxy at any time. Every day they could change it up. So student may set something up and then may make changes. And so we just hope that, again, families can have good conversations about that ahead of time. And if the student makes changes, hopefully they'll let you know. But as a mom of a college student, they don't always let you know things. Some of you already know that. But it's really a great option, I think, for students and parents, so that it is what the student wants to allow access to see, and then the parent can do that any time of the day or night without having to call the institution.
So, Gina, questions I know that come up pretty often. How often does a student need to give proxy access? Is this something that they have to do every semester, every year? Is it in effect until they graduate?
Right. Yeah, great question. Yes, we have, there's a time set on proxy authorization for 4 years. So it is that time frame. Now, when a student graduates or stops out for more than 2 years, then we inactivate their record. And when a student's record is inactivated, we also then inactivate that proxy, because if a student is inactive, they have more hoops to jump through to go in and make changes to their proxy access. So we can't allow someone to view access when the student doesn't have clear access to go in and make those changes regularly. So it is set up for that 4 years, and a student can, or until the student is inactivated, a student, as I said, can make changes, can remove a proxy, can add a new one, can do any number of things with regard to that access, but they don't have to set it up every semester.
Okay, thank you. Next question, because I delayed a little bit, and then a link, and I was working through proxy, and then I couldn't get back in because I waited too long. And so one of the things that we learned along the way is do this with your student. Your student needs to let you know when they're putting in their proxy access, because I think, is it 3 days? How I don't remember when it no longer recognizes you, but then you need to start the process over if you just sit on it for a while, which is what I did. So
right. So when a student creates the proxy, and mom and dad can be separate proxies as long as they have separate email addresses. So when the student creates the proxy and then checks the box, then the proxy will receive an email saying, you've been set up as a proxy. Click here, and you'll get a separate email with like a PIN or whatever. So you click there and utilize that initial PIN to set up your own password. If you don't do that within, now that you're saying that, Kim, I should have looked. I think it's 2 days. I think it's 2 days. If you don't do that within those 2 days, then that expires, and you try to do it next week, and then now you won't be able to do it, and you have to ask the student to kind of resend a new link. So yes, it's helpful to do it at the same time, or check your email, and when you have your student tell you that they've done it, so you can set your password same day is ideal.
Yeah. So learn from my mistakes, everyone, or my mistake. Don't wait and let that expire and then have to start it over and be like, can you please send this all to me again, please? So, all right, great. And then also the proxy access does not apply to financial aid. It doesn't apply to student health, or it doesn't apply. Student account suite is all separate. So I just want to make super clear that just doing the proxy piece does not give you access to everything. Right? It's just,
it does give access to financial aid. There are financial aid options within proxy.
Great.
It doesn't let you view the student account, because student accounts are in that third-party system that Ryan's going to talk about. You're absolutely right. It does, as I mentioned, doesn't give access to any current semester assignments or tests or anything in the learning management system. And also it doesn't give access to any records in, as you mentioned, that are covered under HIPAA in the student health center or counseling. And it's really those things that are detailed on the website in the area of general, biodemo, and some academic, then financial aid. And then the one option for student accounts is really the permission to talk to your proxy, if they know the passphrase, about your bill.
Okay, perfect. We do have a couple of questions that did come in online. One, how can I check if I actually did click that link?
If you go to wichita.edu/proxy, so if we can show the website again when it comes up there at wichita.edu/proxy, the third link among those that are down in the lower area. Sorry, there we go. Yes, the one that says log on to proxy access system. So that's how you actually log on. So my advice is to start there and utilize the password that you think you set up. If it doesn't work, then again, you can talk with your student, and your student can go into the system where they set the proxy up, and there's an option for them to click on something that will send you the link to reset, kind of thing. So,
right. Okay.
And if you have any questions, the registrar's office is happy to work with students. Students can come and do this if they're a current student at the computers at our window, and we can assist them as well.
Okay, perfect. And then another question, do we need to do this before the student gets to campus, or will it be part of their orientation? So there's not a specific designated time where students will set up proxies, because this is an individual choice by the student. So that's a conversation, again, like Gina was saying, you need to have that conversation with your student when they're going to do this process. They can wait until closer to the semester. They can do it now. It's just whenever it's the best time for the family to do that. But there's not a designated time, because not every student is going to set up a proxy. And that's really important information. Some students will not allow third-party access, right? And so if that applies to you and your family, that's not something that we control. That is something the student will control. Next question, if we have power of attorney and health also, do we file that with WSU somewhere?
No, you don't need to file that. If it became necessary to utilize it, then you could present it and we would work with you on that, but we don't keep that on file anyway. And I would also add, Kim, based on what you just said as well, that again, some students, it's their choice. We want to respect their choice. And if they don't want to set up proxy, I will say that it is helpful for parents to know if you are claiming your child as a tax dependent, whether you're paying their tuition or not, there is a way for you to gain access to their academic record, to really their most recent, their transcript of their grades. So that's a form that you find on the registrar's website. You fill it out, you provide the first page of your most recent tax return that shows them as a tax dependent, and then we would provide you with that record, and that's just part of the law. But you have to be a tax dependent in that case. And so we hope that that parents don't necessarily have to do that. Sometimes students don't want to do proxy, but parents and families work out that at a certain point, the student will provide them with some information. The student can print their grades. So we want each family to do what works best for them, and again, to respect hopefully the rights that the student has and what they're most comfortable with.
Yep. And before we transition over to financial aid, just another note on this. When you have proxy access, it's end of term grades. So, you know, the fourth week of classes, you are not going to see your students' grades. You are not going to know week by week how your student is doing in classes. So again, that's another conversation that you want to have with your student. Log into Blackboard, show me those grades, kid. So just I want to make sure that is as clear as well. So, okay, we're going to jump in because we have a lot to cover tonight. Thank you, Gina. We're going to bring up Amanda now and switch gears to financial aid. We already have a financial aid question, Amanda. So go ahead with your presentation, and then we'll get to your questions as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I do want to preface, I am sorry for how some of the font may come through on your screen. It was not intended. I apologize, but I'll still get you the information. So as families prepare for college, one of the biggest questions is often, how are we going to pay for this? And my goal tonight is to provide some key information and resources to help you and your student plan ahead, understand the financial aid process, and know where to turn when questions arise. So we're going to focus on the most important information families need to know and leave room for questions. Next slide. There we go. So one of the most important things families can do is to start talking about finances early and often. First, make sure your student completes the FAFSA every year. The FAFSA is the application used to determine eligibility for federal grants, loans, and work-study programs, as well as sometimes state need-based aid. The 27-28 FAFSA will open on October 1. I know, mind blown, but it's true. So that date is a date you will want to remember and put in your calendars. Second, I encourage your student to pay attention to requests from our office. Occasionally, we will need additional documentation such as tax information, W-2s, or verification documents. Students can monitor those requirements through their financial aid dashboard and their Shocker email within their MyWSU portal. Third, talk openly about budgeting and financial responsibility. Even after scholarships and financial aid are applied, there still may be out-of-pocket costs, and we call this the gap. So discuss how the gap expenses will be covered before the semester begins. For example, you could consider a Parent Plus loan as an option too. And finally, if your family's financial situation changes or you've experienced a special circumstance, please contact our office. We can't evaluate circumstances that we don't know about. So we really encourage families to reach out and just have a conversation with us, and maybe we can help. When students receive their financial aid offer, I'm sure you all have, one of the first things family notice is the cost of attendance. Please note that the cost of attendance is not simply tuition. Think of it as estimated total cost of attending college for an academic year. It includes tuition, fees, books, housing, food, transportation, and miscellaneous expenses. But I want to break it down because there's going to be some billable costs on your billing statement that are going to be there, but there are some that aren't. So billable costs, think tuition, fees, and housing and food if on campus. Non-billable costs are transportation, book supplies, equipment, personal expenses, and housing and food if off campus. Another important figure is the estimated net cost after financial aid, and this can help families understand what costs may still remain after aid is applied. And here's a quick tip for you. If a calculation results in a negative amount, that typically indicates a potential refund of financial aid. Woohoo! If it's a positive amount, though, that represents the estimated remaining costs that still need to be covered, aka the gap. Also remember that tuition rates are finalized in mid-July on your billing statement and can vary based on enrollment, housing choices, and other factors, so estimates may change from your original award letter. I'd like to highlight a few important dates and reminders. Students receiving merit scholarships should ensure final transcripts from their high school are submitted by July 1. If that's not possible or there's a delay, just let us know and we can work with you guys. In mid-July, as I mentioned, billing statements become available and allowing families to review charges and begin planning for payment. And any accepted financial aid is applied to a student's account as early as 10 days before the term begins. And as we move into the month of August, there are additional several more important enrollment deadlines, including the last day to add or change full semester courses and the deadline to establish payment plans. And one date I particularly want to emphasize is the financial aid recalculation date of August 28th. So enrollment changes can impact financial aid eligibility. So students should be cautious about adjusting their schedules, adding or dropping classes after aid has been awarded. Another important reminder is about withdrawing from classes. Before making that decision, we strongly encourage students to meet with a financial aid advisor like myself. Withdrawing from a class can impact current and future aid eligibility and may result in a student owing money back immediately. And finally, if parents would like our office to discuss specific details regarding their student's account, that student must first set up proxy access, which we clearly covered, and then that can be found out on wichita.edu/proxy. So there we go on that. We also want students to know that support is available beyond awarding financial aid. Students can meet one-on-one with a peer financial coach within our Shocker financial wellness aspect of our office. You can discuss budgeting, managing expenses, and developing healthy financial habits. And if students have questions specifically about their financial aid, their eligibility, scholarships, or special circumstances, again, we encourage them to schedule an appointment with us, a financial aid advisor in our office, through the Navigate platform. And our goal is not only to help students receive aid, but also to help them make informed financial decisions throughout their time at Wichita State. And I'll leave you with this final reminder. Don't hesitate to reach out. Our Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships is here to help students and families navigate the financial aid process from application through graduation and even for masters if that's the desire. You can contact us by phone, visit us in Jardine Hall, set up an appointment through Navigate, access our resources through our website, or connect with us on social media for updates and reminders. We thank you for your time this evening, and we know financial aid and just financing college in general can feel overwhelming, but I want you guys to know that you don't have to navigate it alone. We're here to help. We'll walk alongside you, explain whatever we need to. If it's 5 times, we'll do it 5 times or 10, but we want you to know we're here to help you and no question's too big or too small. Thank you.
Nice job, Amanda. That's like financial aid in like a flash. I love that. But we do have questions. And so hopefully this is not brand new information, what Amanda covered with our families, but it might be, and that's okay if it is. But diving into some of these questions, my son received a scholarship check. When does he bring that to the school? It needs his signature and the school's.
That can be brought in at any point in time. The sooner you do it, the better, because that will allow our office the 7 to 10 business days to get that put on the student's account for the specific term. The later you wait, so if you bring it first week of class in August, then that's going to be delayed even longer. So the sooner we get it, the better. Again, like you mentioned, the student will need to endorse the check on the back and bring it to us for processing. If it's not signed or endorsed, then we can't do anything with it. We will let the student know we have to have it signed.
And does the student need to be present, or can the parent drop that off? So I'm thinking specifically at orientation, sometimes we have breaks in the parent session. They're like, can I just run this over? And can they do that without their student?
Yes, they can. We won't be able to necessarily pull up any information, but the parent just needs to say, hey, I'm here to drop off a scholarship check for this student, and we'll intake it and go from there.
We will always take money. Okay, great. All right, next question. Is aid applied to tuition first and then anything remaining? So for instance, their residence hall, meal plan, things like that. How does it get applied to those?
Great question. No, I don't get this one, but I love telling about it. Oddly enough, I'm nerdy. But hierarchy of how financial aid gets applied is first to tuition, then to fees, and then housing and food. So that's kind of the hierarchy. So financial aid will go first, and including scholarships, to tuition, then fees, and any remaining more than likely would be housing and food if there's a bill.
Perfect. Our next question, kind of in the line, is actually for Ryan. So I'm going to hold on that one about payment plans. So Ryan's going to cover that in his section. Can we schedule a meeting with our students before we have the proxy completed?
You can, but it'll be just general information unless the student is with you and the student is okay with going into the nitty-gritty details of the student's account. When we meet with parents, we do prefer to have proxy on file. If it's just them, we have to, or otherwise we just go off of information up in our brains. Otherwise, if the student's there and willing, yeah, that's fine. I don't mind, as long as they don't mind and you don't mind either.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's important to remember, even if you don't have the proxy stuff done, or maybe they, I don't know, whatever the situation might be, when your student is with you and they are willing to have you in the room as the parent or the third party in these conversations, that is okay. But the key there is to let them guide the discussion, right?
Correct.
Because I'm going to talk to your student, not you. I'm going to talk to your student, right? And that's going to be how coaches and advisors and financial aid folks and everybody, we're going to look at the student. So you're kind of there as backup, but yes, we see you as a partner in this. So absolutely, your student, as long as your student's there and given their consent for you to be there, taking part of the appointment, then you're good to go. Let's see here. So mid-July, we will come to know the exact fees for upcoming semester. What a great segue. Thank you, Amanda. Great job. So our presenters will stay with us. So if you have questions and you're like, oh, I forgot about that question, or I forgot about this question, make sure that you write those down and save them for later. But we're going to bring in Ryan here, who's going to actually show you how to interpret your bill, because we know now what our tuition cost will be. So Ryan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tim. Yep, we have turned on fees. So if your student has not logged in already, go find them, get them in front of a computer, their phone, tablet, whatever they want, have them log in. You can see the actual amounts. Those are now out there as long as your student has enrolled in courses. Okay, so they're live. You can have a look at them and go from there. Give me 1 second here. Get my screen to share. So I think if you've been to an orientation before, you've been through kind of what we discuss. And so I'm going to take you through kind of our website. If you ever need to get to us, it's wichita.edu and then just /AR. That'll bring you right to our website. So we handle all the incoming monies here at the university. So we do have different areas we service, students, departments, student groups, things like that. The one that you guys are looking for as parents for your student is this student's current and prospective right here in the middle. If you click on that, I'm going to run you through kind of our main points, main highlights here. One of the things I do want to touch on, and this does cover a lot of areas here at the university, is the one-stop area. So if you're ever, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and you're talking to your student and you're trying to get some type of idea, or you're trying to get a question answered, something like that. Hopefully, chances are we've run across that question before, and we have put a knowledge base article out there for it. And so you can come here. This is basically Wichita State's Google whatever question you're trying to look for, and it's going to bring you back knowledge base articles that kind of talk about what you might be trying to learn or what you might be trying to do. So that's something that we link to there. Also, it is on every Wichita website. So if you click one stop, that's going to take you there as well. All right. Um, one of the things that has been talked a lot about tonight is proxies. And so what we do in terms of proxy, because I know Gina spoke a lot about it, but if your student does set you up with proxy access, we will discuss their bill with you. If you email us, if you call us, things like that, we do look at that. So if they give you that, that's great. We can discuss their bill. We do have kind of your own portal that you can get to. And so we link to it here. The term we use for it is called an authorized user. Now, one of the things that you probably want to have your student do tonight is if they've already logged in and you're getting to look at the bill, while you're in there, have them set you up as an authorized user. It's very simple, very straightforward. When they're in there, it's over on the right-hand side. It says authorized user. You click on it. All they got to do is put in your email address. It is then going to send you 2 emails. One of them is going to be just kind of an introductory email. It's going to give you the website, which we link to right here where you log in. All right. So it's going to bring you up to this, and it's going to give you that website. It's going to say, hey, such and such student added you as an authorized user on their account. And then you're going to get a second email with a temporary password that you're going to input, and then you can log in. One of the things we do is it does have varied access. So kind of like a proxy, the student can give you different accesses throughout there. It is defaulted to have all the accesses on. So if your student isn't paying attention, which we know that does happen quite a bit, and they just put your name in, you're going to get all the access. Okay. What that does for you is it gives you essentially the same type of billing payment portal that the student gets. Okay. You can see you can see their bills. You can see any tax information. So at the end of the year, when we do 1098-Ts and you want to claim that student on your taxes and you want to write off their tuition and fees, you can get to that tax form rather than having to chase your student around to get that. So you get all that information. And in addition to being able to do all that stuff, you also get, once we have your email address, when we send out billing notifications to say, hey, there's a new bill ready or there's something out there, you get an email alert as well. Not just your student, you get one as well. So you kind of you're in the loop on when billings take place, things like that. Okay, so that's what that website is here. I do want to touch on the important dates here. We've got several of them out here. We're looking at fall 2026. So one of the main things I want to hit right here is August 28th. That is several things really. If your student is wanting to get out of classes or drop classes or do stuff like that, and they don't want to be charged for it, that is the date that they have to do that for full semester classes. Okay, so if they're in a 16-week, a full semester class, that's the day they got to drop that class by. Otherwise, you're gonna pay for it. Okay. Other classes have different dates. So we've got the pre-session, if they're in a first 8 week, and then in second 8 week. Those are our 4 most common ones. So we list those, but those dates are out there. So if your student's trying to swap classes around, those are those dates for you to be aware of, to know that they got to get in and out of those classes so they don't get billed. The other thing that happens on the 28th is that is our payment deadline. So at that point in time, you either need to have your bill paid in full or it needs to be set up on a payment plan. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit about payment plans here as well, because I know there's some questions out there. So what we do is if your student's living in the dorms and they have housing charges and meal charges, we will automatically break those 2 charges out into 4 monthly payments. Okay. And you can see those are right here. So we do it on August 15th, September 15th, October 15th, and then November 15th. All right. That gets done automatically. You guys don't have to do a thing with that. Okay. Now, the one thing that you do have an option in is if you want to set your tuition and fees up on a payment plan. Okay. If you want to do that, you got to have it done by August 28th to avoid the $100 late fee, but you do have until September 14th to get that plan set up. Okay. It will, when you're setting it up, it will charge you $130. All right. 100 of it is going to go towards your tuition and fees. All right. So that was money that you were going to pay no matter what. All right. You had a tuition and fee bill, 100 of it's going toward that. The only thing really additional is the $30 fee. Okay. So the computer will make you do we'll take a payment of $130 as you walk through there and do the steps, but that's basically how that breaks out. And it will take your tuition fees and break it into a 3-month payment plan. And those payments can be seen here. They're September 15th, October 15th, and November 15th. Okay. So that's kind of the helpful information we've got there. And then I think the other thing that we kind of really want to go over here is a lot of people want to see kind of what a tuition and fee bill looks like. And so I've got a copy of it here. So this is just a screenshot. I can't drill into it, but we can kind of talk about it here. So we've broken it out to hopefully make it a little bit more itemized for you. So right up here, this is going to be your tuition. All right. So it's going to encompass, like, if your student is out of state, like this student is, it will be a high number. So you'll have in-state and you will see out-of-state. You'll see 2 tuition charges. Every student in Wichita State gets that. They get a resident charge and a non-resident. And so it combines those here. Now this student is getting the Shocker City tuition exemption, sorry. And so you see that credit right here. And so that is waiving that, or what most people call the out-of-state portion of tuition. Okay, so you can see that happen right here. Student support services fee, that is a mandatory fee for all students. It is tiered, so it depends on how many credits your student, or how many credit hours your student is taking, and that will kind of populate what that fee is. The mandatory fees are your campus infrastructure fee. That is a per credit hour fee. So again, however many credits your student's taking, that's what that fee is going to be. Course fees are variable. So it depends on what courses they take. Now, I will tell you this, Wichita State charges a lot of different numbers for a lot of different courses. So if you're looking at this tonight, and then your student goes and drops classes, swaps classes around, things like that, depending on what they do, the bill is going to change. It's going to be live. And so what I mean by that is, if your student's taking an engineering course, engineering courses have higher course fees than maybe, say, a liberal arts and science, like English 101. So if they're swapping from an engineering to an English 101, your fee bill is going to go down. If they're going back the other way, your fee bill is going to go up. And so it's live, it's moving with them. So you can always come back in here after they've changed their classes. You can see what the new balance due is. All right. Each one of these is collapsible, so you can expand out and it will show you all the individual entries that make up that number. Okay. The other thing I want to touch on here is the electronic book fees. So what Wichita State does is we utilize an electronic book service, or the bookstore here does, and that is billed through your student account. Now, this is all down to the individual course. So if the instructor of that course has decided to use an electronic book, they put that charge, or they tag that on that course, and then the bookstore adds that charge to the student account. Okay. These are all voluntary, but they're you're opted in to begin with. Okay. So if you don't want to use electronic book, or you would like to use some other form of book, or you found it possibly online somewhere else cheaper, you can opt out of this charge. Your student has to do that through the WSU bookstore though. Okay. And I believe that can happen through their My WSU's portal as well. So the other thing that is a little interesting on here is housing. So if your student is in housing, it will look a little weird. You'll see almost a duplicate charge, and then you'll see a credit on there. So this is due to a system limitation for us. When we break out your charges into monthly payment plans, you get an initial charge that comes over from housing and their accounting system, and then we have to put a payment on your account, and then we break out that whole amount into 4 itemized charges, which you can see on your bill. When you go to, say, make a payment, you can say view itemized charges, and then there you will see your individual housing charges along with the due date that's with them. Sorry, that's housing and meals. So that's a lot of the fee bill right there. I think that's probably a lot of I've got to cover. Sorry, one more thing. Payment, the way we can take payments is online. You can do credit cards, and then you can do electronic check, where you enter your routing number and your account number. If you do credit cards, it's going to charge you an additional 3.85%. If you do the electronic check, it will do it for free. Okay, so there is a free option to pay. If you want to mail in a paper check or bring in a paper check, we can do that as well. Um, we do shy away from cash. So when we try to educate students here, so if your student is trying to come in and pay $3,000 to $4,000 in cash, we're going to probably ask them, hey, where did you get this? Because in past, the answer we get is 9 times out of 10, they've just went to the bank and taken it out of the bank, and they're basically they're basically the transfer. And so we're saying, no, hey, don't do that. We've got a free option for you to put in your bank account number and your routing number. That way you don't have to take that risk. You don't have that cash sitting in your backpack. Possibly if you came back over the weekend, it's sitting in the dorms. And you could be out $3,000 to $4,000. So we try to shy away from cash. And if they do bring in cash in large amounts, we will ask them kind of, hey, how did you get this? And we'll try to educate them on how better they can do that without taking the risk of just carrying around that cash. So.
Great. All right, Ryan, we have a lot of questions. I wanted to let
Yes.
you get through all of that, and then we'll go through these questions. Wanted to just make a note here. If you are wanting this information in Spanish, just please note that in the chat or email us afterwards, and we'll follow up with you. We'll follow up with you after the session. To make sure that you have what you need. All right, there's my email. Thanks, Aaron. Shout out to Aaron Steven, who's behind the scenes running all of the tech for us tonight. So, all right, let's jump into these questions. How early can we set up a payment plan?
It is live right now. So you can go out there through the student account suite. Your student can log in, and it's right at the top. It says payment plans, and it'll walk you through it step by step.
Okay. And I think everybody, if you missed the email on where you check all this out and where you even begin, it was up on the screen for a little while, but some questions were coming in. So I just want to clarify, wichita.edu/AR is where you get started with that. Those were where the beginning links were, those 4 links in a row there, wichita.edu/AR. That's where you will start. As Ryan was doing that, I was looking at my students' information too, logging in, and I was like, yep, looking at that bill. All right, let's see. And I think you covered, Ryan, how they set up a payment plan for housing and meals. You already break that down for them, right?
We'll do that for you.
Yeah.
That is done automatically.
Okay, perfect. This is a scholarship check question. If our student is from out of town and has received a scholarship check after we've been to orientation, can she bring the check by financial aid after move-in? Will she need to schedule an appointment? You can walk in to financial aid. I will tell you, it's better to get that done ahead of time. So once she moves in, immediately have her go over, because I think, Amanda, you said 7 to 10 days to process. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And if you're a walk-in, you're just with the next available advisor. If we have availability with us, appointments are recommended. But if you're just wanting to drop it off and that's pretty much it, we will gladly take it. You'll just meet with the front desk reception person and they can intake that for you.
Awesome. Okay. Stay here, Amanda. Where should the Founders Merit Scholarship show up on the student account balance sheet? The scholarships and everything, those haven't been posted yet, right? Because financial aid hasn't been applied, right?
That should happen next week. I don't have an exact date for you. I was told next week, and that's what I'm telling people. So thank you for your patience, everyone.
All of the people next week. Okay, magical next week. So hold tight. That's what we tell a lot of people at orientation. It's kind of a hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait for the next thing. Now we know tuition costs, so that's a good step. All right. Is authorized user the same as proxy? No, that is separate. So an authorized user is separate from proxy. I don't know if either Ryan or Gina, either one of you want to elaborate on that, but setting up the student account suite is kind of the process that setting up authorized user was what Ryan was kind of walking us through a little bit earlier, correct?
Right. So the authorized user is a login, and the student has to set up both of them, right, Ryan? So
yes.
So the student has to set up a parent as an authorized user in the fee payment system to view and pay the bill.
Yeah.
The student would have to set the parent separately as a proxy to view certain information within the proxy system. And again, the only proxy option related to fee payment is the consent to chat with the proxy if they know the passphrase. And the reason for that is because all the information is not in our main banner system. You might hear the term banner once in a while. That's our student information system. The finance stuff is not in that because it's in this special and much better, right, Ryan? Kind of third party fee payment and bill system.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
okay.
better. Yeah.
Much better.
But yeah,
Does that make
and
sense?
it is difficult to keep it all straight. So if you're a parent and you're like, I don't even know what you all are talking about, like now I'm totally confused. You are not alone. And I have worked here. I was just messaging Gina. She's like, did you get that question? And I'm like, yeah. How many times have I heard this question? I have literally worked here, I think 27, 28 years now. And I'm still like, oh shoot, what's that password for tuition? Because it's different from this over here. And so if you're in that boat, welcome. We're all in it together. So just continue to ask the questions because that's the only way that it's gonna make sense. And sometimes you can get to the information. Okay. Other questions. When does Sally Mae pay?
I'll take that one. So that is a little bit more complicated. If you or as a student pursue a private loan, that total process can take 4 to 5, maybe 6 weeks, despite everything being electronic. That has to go through the normal process. So once we get all the paperwork, you do all the paperwork, whoever it may be who's applying. When we get that information and we say we're certifying the loan, the private loan, know that it's going to be around 2 weeks after that point in time to get the aid on the student's account. So be aware, Department of Ed loans are a little quicker, 2 to 3 weeks to get those, but unfortunately private loans like Sally Mae, for example, take a little bit longer. So we appreciate your patience. If that's the case, I would start sooner rather than later on that process. Don't wait until August 28th to start that process, because that's going to be like a whole month or a little over into September when those funds come in.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right. Next one, we've mailed scholarship checks to you. When will they be added? So another one was, so tuition has been posted. Yes. Scholarships have not been applied yet. Also, yes. So we're waiting until next week. Yes.
Well, yes and no. It depends on when they come in, and due to staffing, when we get those available to get processed and then posted. So once we do our 7 to 10 business days, if timing wise down the semester, if you're due a refund, then accounts receivable will do their 3 to 5 business day thing to get the refund through the direct deposit. But it also depends in when we get that check. If it's mail, it's going to take a little bit in the mail system to get through. Also in our office, we have certain people that do that only, and I'm not one of those anymore. So they stack up, they pile up this time of year. So be patient with us. You're more than welcome to check in with us to see if we've received it. We do not mind that at all. Just be patient after we received it to get it processed, because you're one of thousands that are coming in right now.
Yeah. There's a lot happening right now on campus in terms of, scheduling and payment and financial aid and approvals and forms and all of that. So everything's flying at a really fast, coming in at a really fast rate. So thank you for that. How do you find the book fees, please? So if any of you want to talk about that, and then I can talk about textbooks a little bit later. Go ahead, Ryan.
So the book fees will be listed on your student billing statement for the classes that have been tagged for that. Okay, so that is something that it happens outside of Wichita State. We just bill for it. So it happens through the WSU bookstore. And so once that stuff gets processed electronically, then it will show up. And usually that is on, usually it's a day later. So your student enrolls in like an English 101 today, that wouldn't get you would see the English 101 charge come on their student billing statement today, but the book charge won't come on until tomorrow once everything processes through those software programs.
Yeah, so it's likely that you want to go back and check your tuition bill often. I don't know. You necessarily have to do it daily right now. It may be a daily thing once we roll into August as well. So just as a reminder for your textbooks, your student can find those in their portal and look at their classes and enter their CRN numbers. as long as the faculty in those classes have turned in everything and the bookstore knows, because sometimes there are some faculty who just don't have that information in yet. They're still working on classes. They're still making decisions. And so that is kind of also something that can change over time. And so just know that, you know, that is, there's a lot of options out there for textbooks, and I don't think we're going to go down that road tonight, but they can find all of that textbook information through their portal. So if they're not seeing it on the statement, then likely either it hasn't been decided upon by the faculty member, or they haven't just put that book in their cart and that kind of thing, right, Ryan? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Usually it's if it's not there yet, then the faculty member hasn't decided on it and they haven't got it onto the course yet. And so the bookstore's software hasn't picked it up and billed them.
Yeah. So if it's an automatic thing, your student doesn't need to worry about it. But if it's something that is not an electronic kind of situation, or you're opting out of that, then that comes a little bit later. Let's see here. I think there was one more.
And Kim, while you're looking at that, I would say that any person can do a search in the schedule of courses. And when you look at a class, so again, only the student can see their schedule, absent the proxy kinds of stuff. But if a parent wanted to go, I just did it. I went out and I looked to the schedule and I searched English 101. And then you click on the information, a box popped up, and one of the options there is bookstore links. And when I click on that, it takes me to another page, the bookstore's page, that tells me this is what the book is going to be, or the electronic option, and what it's going to cost. So there are also some opportunities for parents, even if not looking specifically at, you know, a certain class, they could see what's the ballpark potentially of books for a certain class just by looking at the schedule. So that might be helpful to some.
Yeah.
If you are looking right now at the student account, the books have not been added yet. The bookstore is not planning on doing that until around the 15th of the month. Okay. So that's something that doesn't come through billing for us. Unfortunately, it does get handled through the bookstore, and their timeline from what they've told me is about the 15th. So.
Okay, great. So right now you're seeing tuition and you're seeing fees.
Correct. And housing. Housing will be out there as well.
And housing. Yep. And any scholarships that have been applied at this point, right, that have come in. But you got to wait on some of those textbook kinds of things. You got to wait on financial aid to be applied. You got to wait on some of those other things. So again, middle of the month, check for automatic textbook fees that will be added. And then it's, Amanda, remind me how far out before the semester? Is it 10 days before the semester when financial aid? I got it right.
You did. Good job. Yes. 10 days before classes begin for any accepted aid. So if those loans are in offered status and you're like, why haven't they paid out? Well, there's a reason. It hasn't been accepted yet.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. And you have to accept that every semester?
Every year. Every year. Aid is awarded to students by the year, unless for some reason they're randomly like one semester only, like for the last semester of their college program. That is the case. Yes. Also, if they're a first-time borrower, which most of you guys their students are going to be, please also know that before the student's accepted loan can pay out, the student has to go to studentaid.gov and complete 2 requirements and make sure the in-school tab is selected, and you'll see those under popular topics. The first one is the loan agreement, also known as the master promissory note. That's just the promise to repay back that loan. And then the other requirement is the loan entrance counseling. That's one and done, interactive. I will go back to the loan agreement. That's good for 10 years. So yay! Unlike the FAFSA, you got to do every year. I know, but do both of those requirements if you want loans in order for the loans to pay out to the student's account. Again, the loans are the student's choice. We can't make the student accept them, and then it's up to the family what you guys want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ryan, there's one, should they wait to set up a payment plan until scholarships have been added?
They can. If you're waiting on a scholarship or a grant or a loan to pay out and you want to see kind of where you're at, you've got to the 28th. As long as you get it done by midnight, you're okay. So if you want to sit there and wait on that one, you can. Setting up the payment plan probably will take you maybe 2 minutes to walk through those steps. It does not take long. So
pretty simple.
And I would like to add on scholarships on the aspect of that. If the organization is sending it out after August 28th, please just let us know or let the organization know to reach out to us. We can then work with accounts receivable to avoid a late fee, but we have to have confirmation of that, not just, hey, it's coming in late. But yeah, we can work with you guys in that regard.
Communication is really, really important. So please ask those questions, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone. To call to ask those questions. Sometimes you can hop online and then go through rabbit holes and get sucked down into something that you're like, I don't even know. This doesn't even make any sense anymore. So I encourage you to pick up the phone as well to have those conversations. What we can tell you over the phone. So Amanda, are there any last minute scholarships we can apply for?
Yes, but you have to search for them, whether it's you, the parent, or the student, which I recommend it's the student because this is their college and this is their educational plan. So yeah, and through Wichita State, sadly, very, very few opportunities. I'd say probably not at this point, to be truly honest.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you can't find them out there. I like to tell students, look into local and regional foundations like Wichita Foundation, Central Kansas Community Foundation, there's Salina, Topeka, all around Kansas. Look local, even regional, because you could also then use Google to use your student's major, then type college scholarships in Wichita, Kansas. If you're not Wichita, do your hometown. Exhaust those results, take at Wichita, Kansas, Wichita that is, and put Sedgwick County or your own county, leave the state. Exhaust those results and just take out the county and just do your state. That'll effectively do the same thing as tossing a rock in a lake. You want your smallest applicant pool as possible and then slowly ripple your way outwards in order to find the best scholarships, because otherwise you're going up against hundreds of thousands of other students for those nationwide opportunities where good luck pretty much on that one. But if you look local, you have a better shot at getting a scholarship. It's never too late. We advise students to do it all 4 years of school and look at the terms and conditions to see if it's renewable or not. Sometimes they're just one and done. Sometimes they are renewable. So read that fine print.
Yep. Yeah, that's really great advice to, when you're searching, start local and then widen that as you go if you're not finding what you need. So great advice. All right. I think we've hit all of our questions, which is good, but we have a few, I know, we have a few minutes left. So any last minute, I'm scanning it again just to make sure that we have everything. We do have, in our partners in student affairs, have chosen some winners for some Shocker swag. So I'll announce those here in a minute. But Gina or Amanda or Ryan, do any of you have any kind of parting comments or advice or anything else that you've been meaning to mention that hasn't come up yet?
My advice is that when you have trouble finding something, I feel like we have pretty good search features on the website. And as Ryan, I think, mentioned the one stop, but there's a lot of good shortcut URLs. If I'm not sure, I just type wichita.edu / and then something, transfer or FERPA. So that's a shortcut that I share. I also like to tell parents that your student can log into the MyWSU portal and click on a link to the National Student Clearinghouse and print for themselves a good student certificate once they've been reported to the clearinghouse as a good student with us, right, in terms of their academic performance. And that often helps families get discounts with insurance, that kind of thing. So there's no cost for that, and just so sometimes parents don't know that that's available. And so then the student maybe doesn't hear about it or doesn't share it or whatever. So that's another little tip, I guess.
Great. Anything else from Amanda or Ryan that you want to mention?
The only thing I think of is, because Gina, what you're saying right there kind of triggered my mind, is if you're looking to us for an itemized on-demand statement or an itemized billing statement for work, reimbursement, things like that, that can all be pulled down through the student account. So your student can do it, or if they've set you up as an authorized user, you can go in and pull that down as well. So if you contact us asking for an itemized statement, we're going to tell you to go online because we're going to get you the same exact thing. That's where our resources are. So if you ever need anything like that, it's all online. You can grab it and pull it down and use it for whatever you need.
And I will also really quick say that if we need any documentation from the student, which will be represented on the financial aid dashboard within the MyWSU portal under the My Finances tab, any of those documents that get submitted, whether in person, fax, mail, or online through the Dropbox electronically, please give us 4 weeks because the volume we're receiving and staffing, we are going to have to take probably around 4 weeks. So please, again, be patient. You can check in on where the status might be, what day we're on in processing, but just understand we're humans too. We're doing the best we can, but it's in great hands once it's here, and we'll then get that processed. And then once that's all satisfied, those requirements, we'll then be able to get the aid paid out.
Perfect. And Amanda, you got your question in right at the wire. This is the last question we're taking live tonight. And then I'll announce the winners here. So would you recommend applying for private loans now or wait until next week to see if additional scholarships are awarded?
It's really personal preference, what you would like to do. Once you see charges, then you know what you're out of pocket, well, what the charges are specifically going to be. And then you can kind of estimate what the financial aid is going to be. If you'd rather wait on that, that's fine. Again, just know that the process is going to take 4 to 5 weeks, but we can work with you. If you're worried about the August 28th deadline, don't worry about that. I'd rather you be sure that that's what you want to do, specifically take out a private loan and how much, because yeah, you can work with your servicer to reduce it or increase it, but we'd rather have you be safe than sorry and just wait it out a little bit and knowing that you can work with us in timing.
Okay. And I lied. We got one more in. How can I pay direct with a Quest 529 plan?
So that kind of depends on the 529 plan. Some of them will let you pay electronically, but it all comes down to that 529. I can't answer one way or another, but you'll have to check with your 529 on how they're going to pay that for you.
Okay.
But
All
you
right.
will need a billing statement, and you can pull that down online.
Okay, there you go. There you go. All right, that is it for tonight. Our winners for tonight, if you're ready, we have 2 winners, Bob Campbell and Charity Van Zandt. So congratulations. And my partner in crime, as we like to say, Alicia, is not with us today, but she will be the one mailing you that, I promise you, your winnings here. So be on the lookout for those. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Lots of information. We covered a ton, lots of great questions. This is recorded, so you can watch it again. This will not be the only thing. So if you want to rewind and watch something else, please do that, or you could watch another episode of our Shocker Family Table Talks. They're all recorded, folks. So thank you for joining us, and have a great night.